Welcome to the Beasley Finds Channel. If you're watching for the first time, I make videos focused on travel, retirement, and living abroad. Subscribe if those topics interest you. In today's episode, I will start a series of videos sharing my travel experiences in Puerto Rico. Although not technically a separate country from the United States, it can sure feel like it as a first-time traveler to this beautiful island. And despite being only a small territory of the United States, Puerto Rico is still larger than the states of Delaware and Rhode Island. In fact, Puerto Rico is really a collection of islands with their own personalities, and in some regards it's considered the gateway to the Caribbean, due to its connections with other notable islands such as the Virgin Islands. There's a lot to be said about all there is to do in Puerto Rico, so I'll give you guys a broad overview in this video, and a glimpse of what your options are beyond the basic itinerary. And stick around until the end for some extra tips on how to stay safe in Puerto Rico and travel with confidence. Let's get going, my friends. So what time of year should you visit the island? First, consider that Puerto Rico is inside the hurricane belt, and this could certainly put a wrinkle in your travel plans. Although a lot of folks go there in the winter months to escape the cold up north, I find the spring or fall are great because the crowds are smaller and the airfare is cheaper. Do keep in mind that hurricane season runs from June through the end of November. If you decide to go in the fall, monitor the National Hurricane Center for the 7-day tropical weather outlook. Whenever you decide to go, note that the ocean in Puerto Rico is warm enough to swim year-round, but it will be a couple degrees colder in the winter. Now that you know when, let's consider how you'll get there next. Cruise ships do stop in Puerto Rico, but let's assume you're going to travel by air. Everything will work like a domestic flight because Puerto Rico is part of the United States and all you need is a government-issued ID. No passport is required. You'll be arriving at Muñoz Marín International Airport, which is about 15 minutes east of the historic Old San Juan area. Uber's available on Old San Juan and some other areas, but coverage is still lacking in parts of the island. There's taxis in these other parts, but I find the freedom of having my own vehicle indispensable. If you're staying in one location, you could get by with taxis, but you can easily pick up a car from the airport and even rent a car through Uber, which is pretty convenient and relatively hassle-free. Decline the additional insurance if your credit card has insurance, but do get the auto espresso tag to pay the tolls electronically. A final note on cars is that some of the rental car websites make it seem like the rental rate is very cheap, but that's because they're not showing all the taxes, and you may be surprised when the final bill comes. I have found that the total price you see on Uber is the same price you pay at the end. Now that we've gotten through all the transportation stuff, let's think about where you're going to stay. In general, short-term rentals on Airbnb are a great lodging option, as are some of the hotels in the nicer areas. Try to avoid staying on crowded streets and look for rentals that have their own parking space. Look at the map where you want to stay. If there's a bar or nightclub close by, you might want to look somewhere else because parking could become scarce at night and drunk drivers could be an issue. If you're getting some value from this video, tap the like button and subscribe to stay up to date with new content from this channel. The Old San Juan area is where you will find the main historical attractions of the colonial era, dating back to the 1500s. In particular, we have Castillo San Felipe del Moro and Castillo San Cristobal. These castles are huge fortifications built by the imperial Spaniards during the 16th century. San Felipe del Moro is a National Historic Site. According to the National Park Service, construction of the fort began in 1539 on a site chosen for its strategic location near the Bay of San Juan. It is the most iconic fortification built by the Spanish in the Americas. Consisting of 6 levels rising above the Atlantic Ocean, designed to enable devastating artillery fire upon enemy ships. By the time of its completion around 1790, it had the reputation of being unconquerable and was the most feared of all the Spanish colonial fortifications. Indeed, it was never conquered and survives largely intact. Enjoy a day or evening strolling along the fortifications and taking in the views. You won't be disappointed. If you decide to stay near Old San Juan, Isla Verde, or the Condado area, you will find that many of the people speak at least a little English in these parts. You may be more comfortable here if speaking Spanish is not your strong suit. You'll be a short drive or even walking distance to several beaches in and around the city. My first recommendation is Balneario del Escambrón, which roughly translates as Escambrón Beach Resort. It is near Escambron Beach, but I do not recommend this beach because the water is cloudy. Balneario Escambron, however, is a very family-friendly beach sheltered and enclosed by rocks. There is a fee to park here, but they have bathrooms, showers, and a lifeguard on duty. If you want to try snorkeling for the first time, this is definitely a great spot versus the cloudy waters of the adjacent beach. The water is very calm and there are some nice fish to see on the left side of the rock enclosure. You may even see people feeding them bread or chips to get them swimming around. The water here is like a big aquarium and it's safe for kids so long as they're monitored. The next beach is Playita del Condado. As the name suggests, it's a little beach in Condado. I mentioned earlier that this is a nice area for tourists and people that don't speak Spanish. The beach is at the westernmost end of Condado near the bridge, as you can see here. Again, the water is very calm and not a bad place to give snorkeling a try if you swim out straight from the middle of the beach and don't stray too far to the sides. I would also avoid walking around on the rocks here as there are red sea urchins, and I've even seen a scorpion fish here as well. Scorpionfish have venomous spines, and if you were to step on one, you might have to go to the hospital. Always wear water shoes to protect your feet unless it's a clean sand bottom without any rocks or vegetation. And please avoid stepping on rocks in general because in many instances they may actually be coral, which is a delicate living organism. Okay, so the information I've given you thus far should be enough to get you started for the first few days of a trip to Puerto Rico. But I promised you a preview of things to come in future videos, and also some safety tips. So stick with me until the end, and I'll share a video of a guy getting stung on purpose by a lionfish and a scorpionfish. But first, let's jump around the map to some points of interest and conjure up some ideas for your itinerary. If you're staying in the city and made the wise decision to rent a car, you can drive along the north coast to a number of nice beaches such as Playa Puerto Nuevo, Playa Mar Chiquita, and La Esperanza Beach. You could hit all three of these beaches in one day if you get going at a reasonable hour. The next attraction is El Yunque National Forest, a tropical rainforest to the east of the city. It's about a half hour from the airport. I enjoyed the day I spent driving through the forest and hiking up to some of the waterfalls. The swimming was nice too, and the water isn't freezing cold at all, and it's actually pretty warm. This experience could be done in a day or less, depending on how far in the jungle you really want to go. You could book an eco tour and stay in a jungle lodge if you want to expand on this experience. My next recommendation is to visit one of the outlying islands to the east. The biggest and most developed islands are Vieques and Culebra. You could go back and forth on the ferry in a day, but I don't recommend this. I would stay at least a night, and you may want to stay longer after you get a taste of these paradise islands. But which island should you choose? There are plenty of videos on YouTube that compare them, but I'll leave a link in the description to an article with detailed information. The short story is that Vieques is best if you want more amenities and to do the bioluminescent bay, and Culebra is better if you want the best beaches, smaller crowds, and amazing snorkeling. If you've been to both of these islands, please leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are. In a future video, I will go in depth on the island of Culebra and let you know how to have a great time here. It really is an amazing place to visit. Alright, as promised, I will mention some safety tips for Puerto Rico. My wife and I have been to the island 5 times and very rarely have we run into any issues. The 3 safety recommendations I have are pay attention to your surroundings, travel in a group, and brush up on your knowledge of water safety. Be aware of people in your vicinity such as pedestrians and drivers, and avoid high crime areas. Choose an agreed upon meeting location beforehand so that you all know where to meet up in case you get separated. Make sure everyone is being vigilant with their personal belongings and making good decisions. Chances are that someone in the group will have the presence of mind to call 911 or to locate the nearest hospital if someone is experiencing a medical issue. Knowing where the nearest medical facility is could also be helpful as it relates to water safety. You should know that there are critters in the ocean that can irritate your skin or sting you, such as sea urchins and certain fish. As previously mentioned, the coral reef is home to lionfish and scorpionfish that have venomous spines. If you get stung by one of them, you may need to get first aid or even emergency medical treatment. Watch the video of Mark Vin's linked in the description and note that he uses hot water to treat the sting from these toxic fish. But you may need to get an EpiPen injection if you start to have a severe reaction to the sting. Please don't be discouraged from going in the water, and know that snorkeling is very safe so long as you take proper precautions and learn what to avoid. For example, don't swim over stingrays or get too close to pufferfish. But these animals will only hurt you if they feel threatened, so do enjoy viewing them at a safe distance. As for sharks, you might encounter nurse sharks, which are not aggressive towards humans. Most of the other shark species are also not human aggressive, at least not on purpose. Seeing one might freak you out for a minute though. Another thing you have to be aware of is currents. I haven't experienced a strong current in Puerto Rico, but remember that if you find yourself in a rip current, don't panic. Don't fight it. Float on your back to conserve energy and swim parallel to the shore until you get out of it. Whether you're in the water or out on a night in the city, always use the buddy system, and if you can travel in a larger group, do so. Okay, that's all I have for this video. In future videos, I plan to talk more about visiting the island of Culebra. We've done a lot of fun stuff there, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. If you'd be interested in hearing more about Puerto Rico's history or more safety tips, I'd be happy to talk about those topics as well. If you made it this far in the video, I thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep making videos for you, my most excellent viewer. Take care, and I'll see you next time on the Beasley Finds Channel.